starting off for his one ability, Power Drive, his main, like you see in the spotlight, if you don't use it, it can power up 2 times. The only thing that powers up, however, is his range. Damage is a lot skewed, meaning that the closer it is 26. The second one farther away is 14, and the third away is 10. So though range gets more increased, his damage is still lighter than usual. First mod here is Bone Crusher. It's a 3 cost. Increase damage in the second arc by 4 and the third arc by 6. So if this was to be used, instead of doing 14 and 10, it would do 18 and 16. So that's actually a pretty good, if you were to use it, type of mod, because it's not just doing 26 direct damage close up, but you're still doing more damage the farther where they are instead of just doing the standard. The second mod is Clobbering Time. If only hitting enemies in the second or third arc start at the second power level next turn. So this one, if only hitting enemies in the second or third arc start at the second power level next turn. I don't understand that one. I'll probably have to get in more depth about it later on when I test them out some more. I've been trying to play the custom games for them since nobody plays on PTS. It's only the people that have backed the game a long time ago we're able to get into it, as far as I'm currently aware. So there's really nobody playing it, and the only real things that we have is practice modes and bots. So I'll mess around with that one. I don't know what to say about this one. His third one is Shatter. Enemies in the outer 2 arcs are slowed until the end of the turn, so his second and third arc would slow them instead of the inner arc, the farther where they are. Kiss the Ring. Increase inner arc damage by 6 if Power Drive is fully charged. So if the 2 times power up, it has been powered up 2 times, then it does 32 damage instead of 26. But if it's just the basic and it hasn't powered up yet at all, then it only does the normal 26 damage for the inner. And his last mod is Power Up Glove, gain 2 additional energy per enemy hit. So it's a pretty good lineup, but like I said, I have no idea what the hell Clobbering Time really means, and Kiss the Ring does seem to be kind of cool, or I guess you could say partially useful, but the problem with this is that those are 2 costs, and it seems to be pretty effective if you could use it. You're still waiting 2 turns before it actually does the additional 6 extra damage. As a frontliner, you don't have that time. You're going up and fighting people immediately. You're always chasing them. You're always doing damage regardless of what happens. To his next ability, Extinction Event. The first mod for this one is Single Out. If only 1 target is selected, increase damage done by 6. So I should really say right now that after playing a couple of games, I had stated in my spotlight that when used, that they can move out of it. People cannot move out of it. Once they're marked, it'll actually follow them depending upon where they go. And I didn't know about this firsthand because I had only just seen the character that just came out. And as I said, Magnus is brand new. So I messed up on that part. But after trying a couple games and playing it on some bot matches, that when I would go and mark them and they would run away, they would still be marked and they would do 22 damage to them. So that ability would give them 28 damage instead of doing the initial 22. Nowhere to Run. Increase targeting range by 3. So the circle area would be a lot wider. And 3 is actually pretty big. 2 would have been pretty big as well, but 3 is actually pretty large. The third ability is Spotter. Can be targeted through walls, so you don't have to worry about doing anything as far as like not seeing them through walls or not being able to hit them through it. It's a arcing type of ability like Gremlins to where it's not going to matter. I'm pretty sure as far as like cover system goes. So the next ability here is Tag Team. Allies gain 5 energy when damaging targets marked by this ability on the first turn. So, and this is a 1 energy cost? Marked by this ability. Yes, okay, so you gain 5 additional energy on the damaging targets. So that is alright. And then Protection Racket, increase the size of the targeter by 33%. So I'm not really sure what this would mean. But I'm assuming that I think it's when they're marked and they show like the square formation on them. Like, for example, if it was marked on L or somebody and they would go run to their teammate and they're in that area, they also take damage. I'm assuming that's what that is. Because then what would be the point of this if you could have nowhere to run instead? That increases the range of the targeting thing. His next ability, Horns Up. The first mod for this one is Dynamite. Fully charged power drive on use. So your main ability would be fully powered, which would actually help out on giving you Kiss the Ring if you have that. Because if you activate this, which is a free action, meaning you could use this and use a secondary ability in one turn, then you could also do 32 damage while activating Horns Up if you have this mod. That would work out if you want to do 32 direct damage to whoever was in your line of sight or whoever was close to you. So that would be kind of useful. Trample is the second mod. Root all enemies hit. It's a 3 cost, but I see why, because it's root for all enemies, and that does quite a bit of damage because it's not just you dashing and hitting one person. You're hitting multiple targets if they're close enough or in the wide area of the dashing that you have. Like Phaedra, for example, has a dash. It's just a line and then a cone. However, this one is like a kind of like a cone, but it has 3 spikes coming out of it, so it's kind of far. Hardened Frill, gain 5 additional shields on use. So instead of getting the 10 shields, it'd be 15. Which I think would be alright for a 1. That's alright for a 1 cost. Fake Out, if you don't dash, reduce the cooldown by 1. Seems pretty good for a faster cooldown rate. Monstrous, gain 10 shields per enemy hit until the end of the turn. Now that's kind of huge. Because if you're going to use this and you dash and hit somebody, or even more than that, then you're going to gain 10 times 4, or 3, or 2, or 1. So you're going to get either 10 shield, 20, 30, or 40, depending upon how many you hit when you dash. And that is his mods for that one. Deal Breaker, however, has Knockover for the first mod. Increase knockback range by 2, but reduce the area you can knock targets to behind you. I'm sorry, I think I read that wrong. Increase knockback range by 2, but reduce the area you can knock targets to behind you. That seemed right. So it just means you increase the range of the knockback. So if you hit the first person, then area you can knock targets to behind you. I'm not sure about this one. I'm going to assume that this one's more like a range one, meaning that if you hit the first or second targets, they fly farther. I'm assuming that's what that is. But reduce the area you can knock targets to behind you. It just seems a little bit odd. Like I said, this is PTS. This isn't really a final thing. It might change later on down the road. The second one is Haymaker. Deals 6 extra damage if power drive is fully charged. As I said before with, I think it was Horns Up, Dynamite gives them fully charged power drive. So if you have this, then not only do you get power drive, if you wanted to use the, I think it was the, No, not Bone Crusher. I think it was, yeah, Kiss the Ring. If you want to use the Kiss the Ring mod, you could also use then Haymaker. I think that would work. If Power Drive is fully charged, so 6 extra damage, that would be 32 damage as well. I'm not sure if you keep Power Drive fully charged then when it's used. I think that wouldn't work. I think it would either be use this or use Power Drive then. I'll have to mess with that later as well, because I'm not sure if Power Drive only stays active if it's already been used with another mod. But my first initial thought is if Haymaker can be used when Power Drive is fully charged, and you could still use Kiss the Ring with Power Drive, then that would actually be something pretty nice to have. That'd be actually a pretty good build. I'll mess with that later on, but that's what Haymaker does. Pinball. Targets adjacent to the landing location of the knockback are rooted until the end of the turn. So basically, anybody that's around you takes, or a landing location of the knockback rooted. So instead of being knocked down, they're just rooted, I'm assuming. Or they're knocked down and rooted. It could be either or. I'm going to assume that they're just rooted at this point, because knocked back and rooted, it would still be a one-turn thing regardless. They're still incapacitated, meaning they can't go anywhere. So that is still a thing, and that is a 3 cost as well. Concussion is the next one. Targets are slowed until the end of the next turn. Pretty straightforward. They're slowed, meaning their movement is cut in half. And the last mod is Suction Punch. Gain 10 shield per target hit until the end of next turn. So it's just another way of saying he gets more shield per enemy hit. His ultimate, however, which is called Boss Around, Sonic Boom is the first mod. Increase damage by 6 to enemies directly adjacent, but decrease by 1 per square. So I'm assuming that this mod would work if they are pretty close away. Otherwise, there'd be no reason to use it. Because if they're farther, like, directly adjacent, but decreased by 1 per square. Yeah, that one's also a messed up thing. Increase damage by 6 to enemies directly adjacent, but decreased by 1 per square. So that, I mean, that could be... I'm thinking about it too much. I'll figure all this stuff out when later on down the road, but this is a little bit odd, especially with his ultimate, that though he shouts to people in a cone-shaped area, the targets, when they're hit, not only take 30 damage, but they also follow you. So I'll see what that actually does. Follow-up is the second one, reduce cooldown on Deal Breaker by 1. Overtime is the third one, gain 20 energy per enemy hit that is under the effects of Unstoppable. That might be alright as well. It's just a matter of people actually using Unstoppable. Big Boss is the next one, 3 cost. Gain haste and Unstoppable until the end of the turn. That's actually pretty big too. Gaining haste and Unstoppable. Unstoppable basically means that you're not allowed, you can't be knocked back, or you can't really be like crowd control effects basically. You can't be rooted, slowed, knocked back. As far as I'm aware, that's how I perceived Unstoppable a while back. And then the last mod is lower morale. Targets hit or weak until the end of the next turn, and that's all his mods right now. As I said, guys, this is all experimental, and doing it on PTS server is a little bit odd, a little bit weird, because I'm not playing against other players. We're doing it with bots. And you're not really going to see a whole lot of people play against other people in PTS. He does come out, I think, of this recording next week, because he always comes out a week before live. So he comes to PTS server, we mess with him a little bit, and then try and puts it out into live, and anybody messes with him after that. So that is basically how Magnus is going to be done. just like any other freelancer. So I'll figure out what these actual abilities or mods do, and I'll get back to you guys on what they actually can be done, what specific builds would kind of work out. Hopefully it can work out in the end for everybody, but like I said, it's just a matter of figuring out what they really mean when you do it. As for Sonic Boom, or as for like Pinball, and even for the other one that I can't remember what the hell it was. I think it was Clobbering Time. So we'll see what happens. Alright, I'll see you later.